In the top stories, Prime Minister Drew engages global leaders at World Governments Summit, cancer second leading cause of death in the Caribbean, and dozens killed in attacks on villages in Kwara State, Nigeria, amid rising jihadist violence. Welcome to the ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. Today is the 5th of February and I am Jasmine Thomas. Prime Minister the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew is in Dubai this week attending the World Governments Summit 2026, where global leaders have gathered to discuss the future of governance, technology and sustainable development. The World Governments Summit brings together heads of government, policymakers and private sector leaders to examine emerging global challenges, including artificial intelligence, renewable energy, water security, and economic resilience. In an update from Dubai on Wednesday, Prime Minister Drew said the summit has already produced tangible engagements for St. Christopher and Nevis, particularly in the areas of investment and sustainable infrastructure.
The summit started off very productively. We had an initial opening where a number of things were discussed, of course, by the presenter. And St. Kitts and Nevis is definitely looking at a number of these things that we are already implementing in our country. A summit like this brings leaders together from all around the world to discuss common issues. While I'm here in Dubai, I was able to collaborate with the ambassador to our region from UAE. And through that collaboration, we are discussing the development of renewable energy in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so I'm very, very pleased with that. I would have had a number of meetings to discuss investments in St. Kitts and Nevis and to advance a number of things that we are already doing.
On the sidelines of the summit, Prime Minister Drew held bilateral meetings with Omar Shahade, Special Envoy of the United Arab Emirates to the Caribbean and the Pacific. Their discussions focused on strengthening cooperation between St. Christopher and Nevis and the UAE, as well as opportunities for partnership in information technology, digital transformation, and renewable energy as the Federation continues to advance investment and innovation. The Prime Minister visited a major solar and water facility in Dubai, which he described as a model for possible collaboration as St. Christopher and Nevis continues to invest heavily in addressing its water challenges and expanding clean energy capacity.
I was able to visit their solar facility, which is quite impressive, and there's significant room for collaboration. This facility also deals with their water, and you know that we have a water problem in St. Kitts and Nevis, which we are investing in heavily, and there's room for collaboration with respect to that as well. I was able.
The World Governments Summit continues through the week with further engagements expected, focusing on development, innovation, and global partnerships that can benefit small island states like St. Christopher and Nevis. The Consumer Affairs Department in St. Kitts and Nevis is set to launch 2 new digital platforms on February 18. The initiative includes a new consumer affairs website and the SKN Smart Shopper mobile app. Officials say the platforms are designed to give consumers quick and easy access to information on their rights, price tracking data, public advisories, and a digital system for submitting and tracking complaints in real time. The department says the new tools will eliminate the need for in-person visits and paper forms, allowing users to access service times anytime, anywhere, using their mobile devices or computers. This digital transformation is expected to improve transparency, strengthen accountability, and make consumer services more accessible. Officials added that the platforms will support faster response times, stronger enforcement, and greater public confidence that consumer issues are being properly tracked and addressed. Aspire Youth Ambassadors visited primary schools across St. Kitts on Tuesday as part of activities marking World Read Aloud Day. World Read Aloud Day is observed globally on the first Wednesday of February and aims to promote literacy, encourage reading, and strengthen community engagement through storytelling. During the visits, the youth ambassadors engaged students in read aloud sessions, highlighting the value of reading as a foundational skill for learning and personal development. The 2026 theme, Celebrate Learning, highlighted the role of reading in fostering connection, supporting global literacy efforts, and encouraging lifelong learning. These objectives were reflected in the day's activities as students and educators participated in interactive reading experiences with children across the Federation. Cancer remains the second leading cause of death the Caribbean surpassed only by cardiovascular disease, according to the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA. The agency issued the warning on Wednesday, February 5, 2026, as the region marked World Cancer Day under the theme United by Unique. CARPHA reported that in 2022, the Caribbean recorded an estimated 119,000 new cancer cases and more than 26,000 cancer-related deaths. The agency said the regional cancer burden is expected to increase by 69% by 2045, driven by aging populations and increased exposure to key risk factors. CARPHA noted that several Caribbean countries rank among those with the highest incidence rates globally for certain cancer types, including prostate and cervical cancers. Executive Director Dr. Lisa Inda said the agency will release a regional surveillance report this year aimed at strengthening data-driven policy prevention and cancer control strategies across the region. CARPHA said the findings highlight the need for stronger cancer control policies, improved surveillance systems, and more equitable access to diagnosis, treatment, and care throughout the Caribbean. And in more regional news, the United Nations is warning that Cuba could face a humanitarian collapse if its worsening oil shortage is not addressed. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed a concern on Wednesday, February 5, 2026, during the UN's daily briefing in New York, speaking through his spokesperson. The UN said Cuba's heavy dependence on oil supplies from Venezuela has been disrupted by recent geopolitical developments, including United States military action in Venezuela and the detention of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, which has affected the country's ability to maintain exports. The situation has been further complicated by new United States measures targeting Cuba's energy supply. U.S. President Donald Trump recently signed an executive order imposing tariffs on goods from countries that provide oil to Cuba. Cuban officials have strongly condemned the measure, and Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez described it as an act that could worsen living conditions for the population. The United Nations said Cuba is already experiencing acute fuel shortages, affecting transportation, electricity generation, and essential services, with analysts warning that a complete cut-off could have severe consequences for the island's infrastructure and economy. Secretary General Guterres also noted that for more than 3 decades, the UN General Assembly has called for an end to the U.S. embargo on Cuba and urged all parties to engage in constructive dialogue to prevent further humanitarian deterioration. On the international scene, authorities in Nigeria says dozens of people have been killed following a deadly armed attack on 2 villages in the western state of Kewara. The incident occurred on Tuesday in the villages of Woro and Nuku, where local officials say residents were targeted after refusing to cooperate with extremist fighters operating in the area. Kewara State Governor reported that at least 75 people were killed. A state lawmaker and humanitarian agencies say the death toll could rise significantly as recovery operations continue in the remote communities. Local officials said homes and shops were set ablaze and dozens of people were abducted during the attack while others fled for safety. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has deployed an army battalion to the area, blaming the attacks on Islamist militants linked to Boko Haram. Human rights groups, including Amnesty International, have called for a full investigation, citing reports that many victims were killed at close range. The attack in Kewara is part of a wider surge in violence across Nigeria. On the same day, separate attacks in Katsina and Borno states left dozens more dead, according to rights group. The violence comes as Nigeria confirmed the presence of United States military personnel providing intelligence support, following a request from the Nigerian government to address growing security threats. Nigeria continues to face multiple security challenges, including jihadist insurgency, armed criminal gangs, and communal violence, despite ongoing military operations. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says 55,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. The figures was disclosed on Wednesday during an interview with French television network France 2. President Zelensky said the total includes both professional soldiers and conscripted personnel killed on the battlefield, adding that a large number of Ukrainians remain officially listed as missing. Ukrainian authorities have not released a full breakdown of casualties, citing the sensitivity of such information during wartime. Western officials and independent analysts say actual losses on both sides are likely higher than figures publicly acknowledged. The BBC has confirmed the names of nearly 160,000 people killed fighting on Russia's side. The disclosure comes as diplomatic efforts to end the conflict continue. United States-led talks between Russian and Ukrainian representatives are currently taking place in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. U.S. officials say discussions have been detailed but challenging, with territorial control remaining a key obstacle to any potential peace agreement. The war has had a devastating human impact across Ukraine, with military graves now prominent in cemeteries and thousands of families still searching for missing relatives. We now take a look at the weather. Present conditions across St. Kitts and Nevis are cloudy with occasional light showers. There's a light breeze blowing with winds registering around 5 miles per hour from the north-northeast. Seas are moderate, ranging between 1.2 and 1.8 meters or 4 to 6 feet. Today, conditions will remain partly cloudy with a moderate chance of showers. This will subside as the day progresses. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a slight chance of a brief passing shower. Sunset this evening is at 6:09 and sunrise tomorrow morning will be at approximately 6:41. And that brings us to the end of the Midday Major Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jasmine Thomas. God bless you.